and welcome back to Contemporary Black Voices, where our topic today is the impact of the dismantling of the Department of Education on Black women. So, something else I want to bring up is, and we've talked about our own personal experiences, uh, and one of the things that I know that as a researcher I'm going to miss is access to their research database. And in particular, the research on the school, the pipeline, the prison pipeline research, the research of gifted and talented. Where are our kids now? The research on the
Mhm.
what you talk about the console curriculum.
Mhm.
We'll talk a little bit about that maybe on today or on another show. But there is a wealth of research that the Department of Education has managed and maintained that the administration is probably going to hit that delete link
Mm.
and a lot of information is going to be gone. But mostly the impact of the school to pipeline, the prison pipeline, to me is a big issue because so many of our I'm gonna say our boys and also our girls, without black women and black males in the or black men in the education system, was at the federal level or at the public level, a lot of our kids do not get the support they need at the school to keep them from being slowly moved into this school to prison pipeline. And we already see now under this administration that, especially with the immigrants, but also on how the society views our kids. They view a black boy who is 8 years old, 9 years old as a man.
Mhm.
They view a black girl who is 8 and 9 years old as a woman. How those kids, discipline wise,
Mhm.
are disciplined a lot different than any other kid. And without black educators at the federal level and on the campus, a lot of our kids will become more at risk.
Well, let me tell you how I feel about this conversation. It kind of seems like to me we're going down memory lane. What was good, what we had before, why we're sorry about losing it. But we know these things are coming about now. And the question for me is, what are we going to do about for our kids that need to be educated? What are we going to do to make sure that we can fill that gap that is now being caused to be able to help train the kids that come about? I don't know what the answer to that is,
Well,
but we damn near better figure it out.
well, when we had our field trip to a different media facility, one of the things that he said was that he teaches financial literacy, dealing in relation to social media, and that immediately got me thinking about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, to where we need to start looking at starting conferences or weekend conferences with the kids to where they hear these messages, they hear how they can make money, you so that they're not depending on other folks to give them money for survival. So there's a lot that needs to be done. Uh, I mean, I'm talking to my peers also now as to here locally, what is it that we're going to have to do? And again, this 6-day education program, yes, traditionally kids go to on the second Saturday they go to church Bible study, but we're going to have to re-image a whole lot of stuff to where that 6 day can probably give our kids a huge advantage because it be built by us and for us to where these kids
Mhm.
can get a better advantage because a lot of our kids are not getting access to a lot of these programs.
So just a quick thing about that. So and I agree, it is up to us. We do have to take responsibility. But I'm gonna play devil's advocate. They dismantled the Department of Education. So what if I say so what? It was a system that was never designed for us in the first place.
Agree.
It was never designed for our kids. It was never
Agree.
designed for black boys. It was never, and so throw it away. And so I think the onus is on us to say what comes next, what replaces that system, right?
I agree.
And how do we design a system for our kids where our kids aren't afterthoughts? We're not trying to integrate them into a system that wasn't built for them, but where they are the focus of that system. And so, how do we do that? I think that's the question. How do we do that, right? How do we build a system? We know that our kids, especially black boys, they learn different. Studies have shown a lot of these kids, you let a black boy, they start to lose their concentration. You let them get up, you let them do some push-ups, let them burn off some energy. They come back and they refocus and they're able to concentrate. These are studies, widespread studies that show that how they learn and how they need to burn off energy in order to sit down and concentrate. So what kind of system do we build to replace that? I think, and I think that's probably one of the biggest questions going forward.
That's all I'm asking.
How do we get them also interested in learning? You know what I mean? And I think those are a lot of the.
That's a proper. We don't have time for it, but it's a proper segue into what you were.
That's a whole other. That's a whole other thing. That's a whole other show. I ain't gonna go there, but how do we get them interested in learning in a way that benefits them? You know what I mean? In a way where they stay engaged.
Well, one of the things that when I was with San Antonio School District, having had worked on a military installation, I had access to a lot of these programs that I did not see black kids involved in. So when I came to San Antonio School District, I talked to my principal, second year teaching. I said, this is what I want to do. I want to bring in this program where we take kids from this campus that represent the campus. I wanted a good balance of black kids, Hispanic kids, and okay, we only have one white kid on the campus, so by default, he had to be in the program, right? But we started talking to these kids, asking them, what do you want to learn about? Well, how do you, basically, how do you learn? And we took that information and we created a team. And these kids were not identified as gifted. They were not identified as special ed, although they had some behaviors. If they, under the wrong teacher, they would have been put in special education. But we found out that when they went into competition, these kids out of 40 schools placed 10th. So everything has to be reimagined.
Mm-hmm.
You take in, you bring in the class clown.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason why he's a class clown is not because he wants attention. Yeah, he wants attention, but he wants the teacher's attention and say, hey, I need something more productive to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
Maybe at the end of the school day, you have them tell a joke. But the kids are sending messages that's going over the heads of a lot of teachers, and oftentimes they don't want to act that way. They just need to be looked at. I've learned the lesson. I know 1 + 1 = 2. Can you give me something else to learn?
Yeah. And just, I know we got to go. One quick point. In this school, our kids' first introduction, and this is why our kids become disengaged at an early age. Our first introduction to history, guess what? The first class on history is U.S. history.
Columbus.
We were slaves.
Oh, okay.
That's our kids' first introduction to history.
Mm-hmm.
They see their people as being slaves. Arabs' kids' first introduction into history, they see empire. White kids, empire. Chinese, Han Dynasty. You know what I'm saying? Indian, Mughal Dynasty. Everybody else, when they introduce their kids to history, they see glory, they see empire, they see conquest. Our kids, our first introduction to history is our kids are slave. First thing a black kid does is sink down into his seat and be like, God, I don't want to be here. It starts from there and it keeps going. Again, throw the whole system away.
And with that, we've had a lot to say about this topic. Hopefully, you guys will also have a lot to say about the topic in your comments. And with that being said, this is Contemporary Black Voices, where we tell our stories our way.
Black Life Texas News Magazine, your go-to source for informative, creative, and engaging news. With 85 convenient locations throughout San Antonio, Black Life Texas News Magazine brings you the latest updates on politics, social justice, culture, entertainment, and more. From thought-provoking articles to inspiring profiles, we cover the topics that matter most to you. Don't miss another copy. Subscribe today for convenient home delivery. Black Life, Texas.